imagine by Grand Design. It's a travel trailer. So we're going to take a look at this. This is your typical roof, you know, just slobber more on. So I'm trying to see why he brought it in here for a roof. Generally, obviously something failed, but I'm wondering if he brought it in because something hit the roof. So you can see they had some trouble here. I've had people tell me this stuff works great. There it is, you got some damage over there. Got some tape on there. So if it works so great, why do we have to keep putting it on? So that's supposed to be a vent, I believe. I don't know what it's going to vent though. If you understand the principle of how a vent works, it's got to have a lower draw. So it's not going to evacuate any hot air. It can't do it. It just can't happen. So see what we got. Yep. This is what happens with this stuff. See? Got a leak here. This stuff doesn't stick. See how nice and clean that looks? Doesn't stick. So I'm not a fan of the tape here, and you can see right here, everybody says, oh yeah, don't put it on. This lasted 100 years. See here? It's gonna peel up. This butyl, the UV light gets in there and it causes this to release. So that's not a long-term fix. See? It's not. Right now it's on there, but it's gonna end up getting worse. I mean, it'll start wrinkling up. You know, so obviously something got snagged on here and that's why you patched it all in. But you can see we've got some of this brown right here, and a lot of people ask what that is. What is that? What is going on with that? Well, let's see if we can answer that question. We can get this here freed up. So it's just the and it shouldn't be doing that. You know why it's on there like that, why it's compromising? Because if you look underneath here, there's nothing there. So, and that's how good they glue it on there. It'll come right up. They just glue one side. That's the smooth side. That's a side with wax. Is that a rusty screw? Looks rusty. Why would I have a rusty screw under my roof? Things that make you go, But, so that's what that is. It's just the intersection of the joints. The seam, that's what it be. Why it's specifically doing it on this product, I don't know. It is kind of weird because it's not on the inside, you can see, like I just said. So, like I said, that's what they do. Just put more on. And I say that jokingly, but there's got to be a better system out there than just keep slobbering this on here all the time. It just doesn't work. You can tell that one's had a couple of laps on it as well. You see the outer one, and someone put some more. Same here, same there. So we'll take it all apart. I'll show you, but you know, it's all failed on here. See that? That's failure. That is failure right there. Water gets down behind there, gets into the screws. Gets down to those screws, leaks into the wall. Rots out this. There's a band right here. In this back, there's a band right here, what's called a band or a ribbon. There's a truss. There's a band that collects all of the trusses, and it'll rot it out if enough water gets in there. And then the same here. Usually water will get down inside here, travel down that back wall. And so there's the original. There's some more. You don't have to do these with our roofs. The system just doesn't work. Go online and do a search for commercial flat roof. And then you'll see up on the top where you can select like the web or all or whatever. Click on images and you'll see. You can go anywhere. You can go in Brazil. You can go to Italy. You can go to Great Britain, wherever. Scotland, Poland, Russia. Doesn't matter. you'll see every roof, every flat or low slope roof, everything's sitting up on a curb. Everywhere around the world, they're doing this. Not on an RV. And the reason why, I'm going to tell you. All this self-leveling that they have and all these maintenance products that they sell you generates $1 billion a year. Why fix it? Everything they've been telling you about a roof, how to take care of it, has all been a lie. You don't do all this stuff on a good roof, on a commercial roof. You don't have to do all this. But they don't want it right, because if it's right, you can't spend all that money for, you know, more self-leveling. You're not spending money on conditioners. You're not spending money on coatings. You know, so it's not the right way to do a roof. So you'll see when we put it together. You'll see what's going on and how we get it all together. We'll be sitting up on curbs. I'm going to take all this decking up. We're going to look underneath, and we're going to see what's going on with this, the air conditioning ducts. We're going to check all of this out. That's what we do. Check all the electrical. We're going to check everything out, make sure everything is right before we put a roof down. That's one of the reasons why I do not endorse a sprayed roof system, because there's a couple of the reasons. One is, you know, you got to pull the decking up because you got to see what's under. We're already into it for a roof. Why not just take that up? I don't like this OSB. I don't like that as a rule. I'm not an OSB fan. It may have its applications in certain areas. Most of all, my construction career, I haven't found it yet. It's just a cheap way out instead of using plywood. But the other thing that I don't like about this, and why a lot of these roofs blow off, is this smooth side is not smooth by design. It's smooth by default. When they go to press and they put all these strands together, then they pour the resins in there and mix it all together. When they go to press all that together to make sure those resins don't stick to the big plate that comes up and squashes it at like 15,000 PSI or something, to make sure the resins don't stick to it, they coat it with wax. They coat the plate with wax. So basically they're putting wax on the surface, which again, that's how it gets smooth. The other side's rough. So obviously the RV industry isn't going to put the rough side up, because if they put the rough side up, then the roof don't look well, because this stuff is so thin and cheap that people be looking at it and go, wow, you'd be able to see every one of these little strands. So that's why they put the smooth side up. But they only glue one side of the roof system. This is just glued the deck. They throw it down, then they push the roof over it. That isn't the way a contact cement works. Contact cement works, you do both sides. So, but of course they want to just get it done, get it built, get it out, get it sold, so they just do it obviously as quick as possible. So all that said, that's one reason why we pull up the decking. I'm going to replace it with 1/2-inch plywood, and it's going to be BC grade. It's not going to be standard construction grade. So I don't know. I was wondering where the water was coming. Yeah, I think it got ripped. That's what it is.
That's cut? That's not...
I think it got pulled up, and he just pulled it back. That's what I think. But the other reason why I don't endorse the spray-on or roll-on roof systems is, again, we want to take all this decking up. Most of the time, what they're going to do is they're going to pull the decking up. They're going to look at it. If they see a piece that's rotted or something, I'm sure they're going to replace that. I'm sure they will. But then they're going to try to spray over it. So if you spray over this whole thing, so now we get the decking up. This isn't glued down. The decking needs to be glued down. It is very important for the shifting of the coach to stifle that. Any of these manufacturers are telling you that these are designed to flex are lying to you. The frame can't handle that. Just imagine the more it flexes. Just the law of physics says, you know, for every action there's a reaction, for every force there's a negative force. That is Newton's third law of physics. So all this energy that's shifting, where do you think it's going to go? It's going to go into the fasteners. Fasteners loosen up. When the fasteners loosen up, a lot of these other things loosen up. Guess what else loosens up? The caulking loosens up. Now you got a leak. You got this. And this thing is just going to start falling apart. The welds will start coming loose. You don't want that. You want to stifle that as much as you can. You're going to build things because you do come into circumstances where they do have to move for sure, but that's more of an expansion contraction type thing, and you have to know what products to bring in to the build to make sure it can flex the way or move or shift the way it's supposed to without compromising something else or compromising the structural integrity. So that being said, we're going to glue this down. So you want to pull it all up. So there's reason number 2 why we don't endorse roll-on roofs, right? The other reason is when I pull all this up, like I said earlier, I want to make sure all those trunk lines are all squared away. I want to make sure all the electrical's all squared away. I want to make sure it's all proper. And we may even find that there may not be adequate insulation in here. I don't know. But we want to find all these things out. We've already got to this point where we're going to replace a roof. Do it now. So if the spray-on system, if that was the way to go, and also it doesn't solve the problem of the curbs. You need to have curbs. So you spray the roof. Hey, I'm going to spray it. When you spray the roof, if you have a problem with your vent, you got to pull that vent out. You got to go back to them, and you got to have them reapply to reseal around your vent. That's added money you have to do. The way it is on my roofs, anybody can go change it. You can bring it anywhere, do it yourself. With the vents, skylights, whatever, okay? So I don't really care for that. The other thing I don't like is generally they're gonna go over all of this right here. And if you have an issue with any of this, again, you have to breach it to fix something, then again, you gotta go back to them to get the product to do it. And I'm not a fan of that either. So you should be able to do some of this stuff yourself. Lastly, they say it's a lifetime roof. If you read the warranty specifically says, way at the bottom, the warranty says should last 20 years. Should last. So if it's telling me it should last 20 years, that's not a lifetime roof, right? You have to reapply a top coat to one of those sprayed roofs. If you do not apply a top coat, the warranty is void. So that's not lifetime. Also, the top coat and all that stuff, you have to purchase through them. And do it yourself or pay someone to do it. You don't bring it back to them and go, hey, I'm ready for a new top coat, slap one on. It doesn't work that way. That's all on you. So I don't see how that's a lifetime roof system. If we're going by their terminology of lifetime, should last 20 years, the roof system we're putting down, you won't have to replace it. You can put a top coat on that. It's done. So it's done and done. All those coatings that you see, these coatings that, hey, put them on campers, they're really designed for commercial roofs. Commercial roofs with curbs. And what curbs do is they redirect water around from penetrations. So we're going to see if we've got any issues underneath there. I know we had them on quite a few. Maybe we'll get lucky and they won't be any issues. I mean, if there is, I'll show it. But if there isn't, I'll show it. But as a rule, you generally have these all breaching and you have water stains at least on there, or some sort of evidence of water intrusion. So we don't want water intrusion. So those are the few reasons why I do not endorse a spray-on roof system. Another reason, if you read their warranty, air conditioners are not covered under the warranty. There's a foam gasket underneath there, and there's no way they can do anything more than just keep that foam gasket on there. So you get water pushing from the front of the unit. We can probably go over here. You get water just rushing across. There's a square foam gasket in there. Then that's going to dry out that gasket. And then when the gasket gets dried out and it starts to fail, then obviously you're going to have leaks. That isn't covered under the warranty of the spray. By putting this up on a curb, you keep it out of that traffic lane. You keep it out of the roof line, out of the water. It's elevated up. And the way we do our curbs, it's got flashing and counter flashing. So those are the ways you do a commercial flat low slope or a flat roof, low slope roof. That's the way you do it. So we just made a mini commercial roof. Same exact design, same exact installation procedures and so forth. But like I said, I mean, if it was worth it for me to buy a machine, when I did commercial work, I had sprayers. I had massive sprayers. We could do huge buildings and do recoveries on them, and some of them it was a good idea. But it's not always. And I've also had roll formers that make metal roofing. We had those, so I'm not afraid to go buy the equipment. I'm not worried about that. I just don't think it's a good application, and that's why we don't do the spray-on roof system. And I don't encourage anybody to do it. It just seems like it's a quick fix, get it done. But with all those other issues, I don't think you really want to go with a spray roof. All right, well, let me get this thing apart, and I'm going to show you what's underneath it, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got this one little piece up, as you can see. But if you look at the roof deck overall, it doesn't look bad. Some people would say this would be a candidate for a spray roof or roll-on, but we're going to see what's underneath it. So we're going to get all this up, take all the decking up. That's what we're doing over here, trying to get the decking up. We're going to see what's up underneath this thing. The other thing I don't like, look how thin this insulation is. It needs more insulation. It's missing almost 2 inches of insulation. That is 1.5 inch insulation. So now we've got this. Oh, look how thin that is. This is 1.5. That's all it is. That's all they put in there. You can see it's missing over here too. So we're probably going to end up adding some more insulation. This is supposed to be a radiant barrier reflective thing. I've showed it on another video. I think it was, let me think, the Jayco Eagle. How that is not effective that way. It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. We're going to end up tucking it back down inside, but it needs to have a gap for it to work effectively. But we're going to actually put some, more than likely, we're going to put more insulation in this thing. It just doesn't make sense not to. You got it open, let's pack it up and keep some of that heat out. These things get super hot anyways, so let's see if we can get more insulation. Look at the, like up underneath there, see that gap? That tells me there isn't any insulation in there. So, and like I said, you can see it all here. Man, they're cheating you on every little thing, it seems like. No glue. There's no glue on here. You need to have glue on here. So, actually, the glue is going to absorb the shock or the movement and stifle it. When they tell you that these things are supposed to flex, they're not. They will flex. That's just a law of physics. But you want to stifle it. You want to minimize it. All that energy from racking, twisting, flexing, and all that stuff, all that energy goes somewhere. That's Newton's law of physics right there. So where's it going to go? It's going to go to the screws. It's going to go to the fasteners. And these things start loosening up. When they do, then you start getting caulking that's loosened up. And then you start having leaks. So we're going to make sure that, you know, we're going to glue it down, and since they're wood, we're going to staple it down. I think they use a bunch of screws, but you don't want to put too many screws in here because you'll end up splitting that truss. So we're just going to, nice and easy, we're going to pull it up, and then we're going to, like you said, glue it down, and we're going to fasten it down. So now the glue, the adhesive, is going to absorb that energy. All right, we obviously have the roof insulation out. So now we're checking all these trunk lines. That's what we're doing. So then some of these wires, they start gouging in. So that's why we put some extra tape on there to prevent it. That's just foam. Just foam. Did you find any breached? Not too bad? But that would be a first.
Yeah.
Normally we get them all apart. Yeah. So we put one of these in right here because it will compromise that wire. They don't have that. We put this in, this red piece, because all it is just a piece of wire, and it starts chafing the sheathing off of the wire. So we don't want to have that. So we get that one, and then we just look for whatever other ones coming through the roof that are like that are coming through that ferrule, that metal piece is called a ferrule. So, but this one doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad at all. I've seen them a lot worse. All right, so we're gonna get some more insulation in here, then we can start getting this thing redecked. All right, so what we did is, you can see how fluffy it is now. What we did, we loaded it with some other blown-in insulation, and I like that because we can get up underneath those ducts. We just put this back down here. It really doesn't do anything, but I'll put it down anyways. I just want it off the joist or the trusses here so I can glue to them, but it won't do anything. At least it'll hold down some of the insulation, I guess, so we can, you know, keep working without it getting in the way of the glue. But so we made all the repairs. There wasn't very much repairs on this one, surprisingly. Usually we see a lot more damage on those ductworks. And then also on the wires as well. We usually see a lot of that. So this one did pretty well. So now we can just start getting the decking down. We're going to glue it down. This is 1/2 inch BC grade plywood. I don't use OSB. I try to steer clear of it if I possibly can. So now we glue it all down. Glue, 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 glue. Now we set it in place, get it aligned, and we commence with the fasteners. And we shall zip this up. Soak it in there. All the plywood already down. See, we got our strips going across, protective strips all over it. Also have the one on the shoulder here. We put this one on there because we don't want the siding and the sheathing to kind of compromise any of the roofing when these things kind of move around a little bit. So we fabricate all this up. It's all glued in, fastened. Everything's glued and fastened, glued and fastened. So we've got the passenger side already rolled out, and you can see we got glue on here and glue on this side. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So hopefully some of this information may float back over to the RV industry where they actually do both sides, because that's how this cement works. It says it on the jug. You can kind of do a brief read and say, oh, hey, yeah, that's what we were, man, dadgummit. Maybe that's why the thing kept blowing off the campers. So that's why they blow off. They don't do both sides. They only glue one side. So that's there's a contact cement. That's how a contact cement works. Anyhow, we're gonna roll this out. Then after that, we can start getting our curbs on and the other stuff. So we're pretty much coming to the close of this. Once we roll it, it's gonna go pretty good after that. So we gotta, once we roll it, we'll end up rolling over it with a real heavy roller, trying to find it. It's around here somewhere. The big 110-pound roller we go over with. That really makes sure we get a really good bond. So, all right, so there's a big roller I was telling you about. 110-pounder right there. We're just gonna go nice and slow and get that bonded well. All right, so what we're doing now, this is an exhaust fan that I put on, and inside, I got a piece of plywood in here. Obviously, there's a skylight. Skylight lens looks fine. That's why we put it back on. If it had fractures in it, we wouldn't put it back on. But it's all good. Looks fine. So we're going to reinstall it. And so this is, your inner lens will be here. So this is the intake. I'm going to put a vent right here. And then this is a solar fan. So what'll happen is when the sun comes up, so now let me back up a little bit. When this is sitting on here like this, and you have, especially in colder weather, you'll have some frost on here. When you have frost on here, or any dew, you have it on the inside as well. So, that being said, when the sun comes up, it'll evaporate this off, but on the underside, it can't evaporate it off. So all that water kind of drools down, the condensation just drools down. And I don't want to get it into the curb, so that's the other reason why we lace this all over. This is the frame, we boxed it all out because I don't want any water. Eventually that probably will break, I'm guessing. So, I mean, nothing lasts forever. So I want to make sure that if it does leak, it's going to go down into the shower area and he can see that. So we sealed everything up as well, all around, but we wrapped the whole thing. So now we put this on, we're going to glue it on. Now the sun comes up and it's going to evaporate what's on here. And when it does, that fan will kick on. You can see we put the AC tape on there. So now when that fan kicks on, it's going to draw the air up through here. It'll draw it up over the inner lens, and it'll come back down, and it'll go through here. And it'll be a constant cycle, so it'll keep it dry. I want to make sure we keep the dry rot out. So, and these are just cheap Chinese fans. They probably should be inspected from time to time to see, you know, if they failed or not. So, usually you can just put your hand underneath there or something and feel it. But anyhow, that's the whole theory to this. So now we're getting pretty close. We got everything all heat welded, and then we're gonna end up obviously sealing down the vents. But we still got a little bit to do. Then I got this insert trim I'm putting in, which is right here. This insert trim, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a little groove in it. What it does is it sits inside there. When it sits inside, on the bottom, that little track right here, that's where that groove's gonna sit in. It's gonna sit in there, and then the other one's gonna go on this other track on the top, and it'll seal the water out. So, just like that. It'll seal it out. It makes a little bulb, so now when the water comes down, it kind of rolls and it'll go into the gutter. So you can see we've got every screw all sealed. Everything's all sealed. That's important. We haven't put the strikes on here. I'm going to put 2 strikes of caulking on here. I haven't done that yet. So, yeah, that is tape. If you're looking at it going, why is there tape on there? A lot of times when you handle this, you may get some caulking on your fingers, and I don't want it to get on the bottom of the gutter. So that's why we put the tape on there. This way when you peel it off, we don't have to worry about trying to clean it. So, but you can see every single screw, everything's all sealed. That's the way it's got to be done. So, we're gonna, now I'm just gonna put the insert trim in, and then we'll show you the rest of the roof here in a minute. All right, we're done with our Imagined by Grand Design, who could take a tip or two of how to put a roof on, and maybe even insulate it a little better. That would be good. So, because you saw we put all that extra insulation in there, you know. I'm sure it's gonna make a difference. So here's our little stamp. We put that on there so we can monitor the roof when it comes back for inspections. And then you can see everything on here is all heat welded. We made all these little boots in-house, made them for the plumbing. What's great about that is even if that cap pops off, it can't leak anywhere except into the holding tank. So we also did the boots on the ladder. These are really known to, you know, leak, because all they have are these little bases right here. Like, I think I showed you the clip of all the water coming out, but anyhow, we got all that dried out, all cleaned up and everything, and we tightened up all these screws because I don't want people to get on a ladder and have it fall apart if they ever have to get up on here. So then we put in this special sealer, and that stays flexible all the time, and all of that is all heat welded. You can see some of the discoloration around the corner. That's how much penetration of heat we get on there to make sure it fuses right back to the main sheet. So once it's welded like that, it's done. These Winegard Air 360s, I really don't like them. Well, the way they had it on there, squashed down to the roof, and they slobbered it with self-leveling. And you can see it cleaned up pretty good because self-leveling doesn't really stick to that stuff. It doesn't stick to plastic like that. A lot of people think it does, but they've proven time and time and time again it does not. So I put a base up underneath there, and then we just mounted them right here with some all thread that goes down into the roof. There's a special mount down inside that boot that holds it. And then again, we did it with the same pourable sealer that we used for here. And you can see how we got the coax there. So if he has to replace this, all he has to do is just pop those off. Or if you wanted to upgrade to a Winegard like 8500, it'll fit on here too. That's how I laid out everything, because sometimes people want to upgrade a little bit. All the curbs, they're all heat welded in. Got the ACs on, got a couple of stands in the back, just gives it some balance. And so we've got skylight done, no screws in the skylight. So all we do is we just glue it down. That's glued down, it's done. It's a done deal, it isn't going anywhere. When you put screws in these, they push in the summertime, or especially when the heat's hot, right? Heat is hot. When it's hot, it'll push against the screw, and then you get a thunder shower, and that'll make this contract. And when it does, it pulls on the screws, and usually you'll get these little hair fractures in the lens. So we don't screw them down for that reason, because I don't want anybody saying, well, you over-torqued them, you over-tightened them, you overdid something. So this is glued. If it breaks, it's just because the product itself had failed. So as I was explaining, I showed you earlier about the vent holes for the intake. That's an intake, and this is our solar fan. So now when the sun comes up to warm that off, then this will kick on, and it'll keep a constant air going inside that little cavity where the inner lens and this lens meet. You have that little cavity in there. If this pops off, that will leak inside the coach. This one will. So what you want to do is grab these right here, plumbing, and put any plumbing, put it on that, because these can't leak anywhere except for in the holding tanks. You can see we did the same thing around here. It sealed up all the vent right there. So there's a nice cushion of sealant underneath there. Same thing with this air conditioner. Got the 2 stands in the back. So all of the curbs that I design, everything that I build, everything has a fail-safe to it. So on a commercial roof, if you were to look at some of the curbs that they build for a commercial roof, they're going to have flashing, and they're going to have what's called counter flashing. So what flashing is going to be this piece down here. That's your flashing right here. This piece is called counter flashing. This piece. They all have them, even underneath the air conditioner. You can't really see it. So the reason why we put that on there is so when water travels across the roof, it's gonna, if it tries to come up in a heavy storm, it's gonna end up getting redirected around. It won't be able to jump the curb. And what that does is minimize any erosion effect. That's generally what kills a lot of joints, lap joints, or a lot of sealants, because you get that erosion effect. So that's what curbs that. And again, it also moves the water away from the penetration, which is the whole design and idea of a curb. So the air conditioners have the same thing. So now when the water comes down, there's just a foam gasket up underneath there. Well, we put this counter flash right here in the front. We put that on there to push the water down below the counter flash, so it'll run down to the bottom, you know, on the roof surface itself. It'll go down and not try to get back up underneath to where the foam gasket is. So everything has 2 strikes of caulking on it all the way around. We've got 2 strikes of caulking. I think I showed already how we seal every single screw, and I showed you how the insert trim works. So what we do is put 2 strikes of caulking on the top here. We put 1 strike, and then we wait for it to cure, and we come back and we put yet another strike. And the reason we do that is if you've ever operated a caulking gun, as you're squeezing the trigger, you'll hear it pop and crackle. And what you just did was injected an air bubble. So now with all the movement that these coaches have, if that air bubble breaches, you potentially have a leak. So I don't want to have that happen. So I figure if I put another strike on there, what are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? So that's why I do it. So everything's got 2 strikes on it. Obviously the roof needs to be cleaned up, but I figure we got to open up the slides is what's going to be next. So that's why I want to get the video done. We're going to open them up. We're going to check these slides. I want to make sure they're sealed well and that there's not any issues with that. So we also put a gutter on the back, so now the water won't be drooling right down the side into the lights or anything else or around. It's going to get traveled off. We got spouts on each end. We got them for obviously the sides and obviously the back to kick it off. And then we put these on here just so it's a safety thing for us. That's all it is. Just make sure. And also it's got a shock that wants to come out, but obviously we put the awning on. It doesn't want to, but we just leave them on. It's just a protocol for us. Some awnings aren't power awnings, some are, but this way, you know, the customer knows that it's locked in, and we put them on that bright colors on purpose so they'll see them and they can cut them when they get to their destination. If they want to put them on, which I would recommend, if they want to put them on and travel, that would be a smart idea. But anyhow, that's basically how the roof system goes together. It's all heat welded. This roof system is a commercial grade roof system. It's this exact same membrane you're going to find on a library, on an office building, a restaurant, hospital, same exact roof material. It's a 60 mil, that's the thickness of it, 60 mil. It's called TPO, which stands for thermoplastic olefin. That's why we can weld everything together. So the rating on 60 mil is 20 years, and the way they do that accelerated testing test is for a commercial building, meaning being out in the elements, being out, you know, in the weather all the time. That's how the test is run. So they're assuming that the product is essentially going on a commercial building, considering it's a commercial grade product. So that all said, an RV doesn't see that kind of exposure to the weather generally. You know, usually it's in the shade, and you know, obviously when you're driving on the highway it's a little different story, but as a rule, you know, you're parking in the shade, you're keeping it out of the weather in that sense. So you're going to get more years out of this than 20 years. You don't have to replace the roof. All you have to, they do make a recovery system for it. So in probably 25-ish, maybe 30 years, they go, hey, it's starting to look like it's weathered a bit. Let's do something with it. We can do that without having to tear the roof off. So some people may call this a lifetime roof. I call it a 20-year because that's what the company said it was. and there's other companies that say there are lifetime roofs, and they're not. So I don't want to mislead anybody and think, hey, it's, you know, you'll never ever ever have to do anything to this roof. You know, you can pass it down to your great grandkids and they'll never have to do anything. That's not the case. It's not the case with any roof system. So we do the inspections. If the customer wants to come back, we'll do the inspections for free, no problem. If they want to inspect it themselves, they can. And all we're looking for is making sure the caulking as well. And we just check some of the welds on here. You know, we go around, not some of them, all of them. We check all the welds. We show a customer how to do that. So I want to thank the customer for bringing the coach to us. We appreciate the work. And that's why we take the time that we do, because people come and they really trust us to do a good job. So we look for other things besides a roof system that may cause the roof to fail or may even create some discomfort, in a sense, like in this case, the installation. That would have turned into a discomforting scenario. If we can keep the coach cooler, well, then he's not going to tax out his air conditioners. You know, he's going to be able to maintain some sort of comfort in the coach. And we look for those things. We look for the ductwork. We look for the wires. We do all that. Other companies don't do all that. We glue roof decks down. You know, we fasten them all down, like you saw how we put all that together. Other companies don't do that. So I haven't known any company to tear a roof off like we do and go through all of what we do. And there's nobody out there that does the curbs like we do. I haven't shown one person how to fabricate, make the curbs, and, you know, all of the design. This is all in-house, what, you know, we have done over the years. So I'm really not an RV guy. I think I've said that numerous times on my videos, but if this is the first time you're watching, I'm really not an RV guy. My background is I'm a licensed commercial general contractor. So we've done a whole bunch of restaurants, we've done a whole bunch of commercial buildings, and got into structurality, got into doing like what they call re-imaging, especially on restaurants. When you see them kind of change their look and their image, that's what they're what's called re-imaging. So you see a battery going dull here. So here's all our information right here. RVRoofInstall.com. There's the 3 colors, and you can see on here, you may be able to see the little squares in there. That's a mesh that's built into the membrane. That helps fight against and resist against hail and tree branches. It's really hard to really damage this roof. Warranty on it, like I said, they come back and it's 20-year warranty on the material. That's how all of them are rated. And if they want to bring it back to us, we'd be glad to inspect it. That's how we do it. Other than that, I think washing it, soap and water, wash it, or you can bring it to a truck wash. So we appreciate y'all watching. We don't quote on social media. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up so other people can find it. From what I understand, that's how it works. Feel free to skip any ads that come up, because we don't make any money off of this. That wasn't the whole idea of putting them together. So again, we appreciate y'all watching. Package. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. What you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you're trying to do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just gonna obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. What we're gonna do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? No. Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you gonna talk about, man? No, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. And you're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. Oop, hit, there it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. It doesn't all sit in there. You can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.